Hey everybody, I'm Bill, the Hill Country Prepper, and I want you to be informed so that you can be prepared. So the aggressive posturing by Russia over on the Ukraine border continues this week, and some of the security advisors are advising that this probably will happen, and if sanctions are imposed against Russia by the United States and other European countries and other countries in the world, that we can expect to see a lot of cyber attacks. And now, like I had mentioned in a video last week, and I'll put a link to it up here, the hybrid war is already ongoing in Ukraine by Russia. So this is not anything new. And it's widely believed that China is going to support Russia in anything that they do. So, some people might say that the invasion of Ukraine is imminent, and as soon as Russia makes their move, then China's going to make their move against Taiwan, and so we'll have these multiple front confrontations that are going on. And of course, you can say sanctions. The West is saying that they'll impose real strict sanctions on Russia. Russia doesn't care. China doesn't care. China has Russia's back, so anything that the West might impose upon Russia, China's going to fill the gap. I mean, everything that we get, anyway, comes from China. So to say you're going to put sanctions against Russia, that really doesn't have a whole lot of effect. But Russia's already come back and said that if you do put sanctions against us, Russia, then security experts are guessing that there will be a lot of cyber attacks. So what I want to talk about today is what can you do to protect yourself against identity theft and cyber attacks. Now, of course, these cyber attacks will be against government institutions, larger financial institutions, but what can you do to protect yourself? If you guys find this helpful, why don't you click down on that thumbs up and give it a like. And if you're not a subscriber yet, go ahead and press down on that subscribe button and ring that notification bell, and you get notified each and every time you upload some new content. So do that right now. The first thing that I would suggest you do is check to make sure that your identity hasn't already been involved in a data breach. A real good service for this is LifeLock Identity Protection. They will let you know if there's been a data breach involving your information or not. Now, of course, this is a paid service, so that is something to consider, but they are really good at alerting you to identity theft breaches and data breaches and stuff like that. You can also pay attention to what's going on in the news. You hear news all the time about this data breach and that data breach and so on and so forth. Pay attention. If you have any dealings with these companies that are having these data breaches, then you might want to contact them. Second thing I would suggest you do is check the strength of your passwords. Now, I know there are websites out there that you can go and you can check the strength of your passwords. Now, when choosing a password, you want to remember that the longer it is, the better it is and the more secure it is. I would recommend using not only capital letters and lowercase letters, but also numbers and special characters. For example, you might be able to use the name of your pet followed by your zip code and an exclamation point. That's just an example. There's all kinds of different variations. Another technique that you might want to try is using a sentence as your password. Again, the longer the password, the more secure the password. And when choosing a password, one of the things you want to avoid is choosing a password that's pretty easy to figure out. For example, having your password be 1234567 is not a good idea. Neither is it to be QWERTY. That's a bad choice. Or 7654321. That's a bad choice. Or my password. Those are all bad choices for passwords, so don't fall for that. Make them as difficult as you can. And it's always a good idea to write them down and keep them in a secure place. I don't know if you have a safe in your home or some secure place, but you want to keep track of your passwords and you want to protect them. Another way to protect your identity is to not trust anybody on emails and on texts and on websites. I'm sure you've probably seen these. We all remember getting the emails from the prince in Nigeria that was trying to release some funds, and if you would only do this, then he would give you $50,000. Everybody sees through that scam. Well, they've gotten a lot more complicated these days. I know I get scams by text on my phone all the time, and I get them on emails all the time too. If you don't know who's sending you a text, or if you don't know who's sending you that email, number one, don't open it up. Number two, for God's sake, don't click on any of the links. I'm even so bad that if I get a phone call on my phone and I don't recognize the number, I won't answer it. Now, a lot of times I can tell that these are scams just from the location or the area code that comes up. But sometimes they'll be in my local area code, and you might think, well, I wonder if that call is important. You know, if that call is important, they're going to leave a message. So I'll wait a few minutes and I'll go and I'll check and see if there's a voicemail. If there's not, I'll know it's a scam. Don't answer them. Another way to protect your identity is to secure your device. Now, this is whether you've got a PC, you've got a tablet, or you have a smartphone. It's really important to secure your device. One way to do this is to install antivirus software. Norton has some good material, so does McAfee, and there's others out there. Again, this is not a paid sponsorship for either one of those. I'm just familiar with those, and those are good services. And of course, setting your password, and then also including some encryption that involves either a gesture, if you have to make a design or something on your phone, or maybe it's a thumbprint on your device. That's another good way to secure your device. Something else you want to do is make sure that you've got all applications set up to require a password before they download. And along that same line, you want to set up your Bluetooth and your network to make sure that it's not just out there roaming and being able to be picked up. You want to turn those off so that you're not connecting when you don't know that you're connecting. Another thing that's important is to keep your device's software up to date. Now, I know a lot of people are hesitant to keep downloading the latest iOS software or the latest Windows software, but it's really important to do that because these companies do keep on top of the latest security threats. So if you've got the latest operating software on your device, you're probably going to be a little bit more protected than if you don't. It's also helpful to use security questions when logging into different websites and using different applications if they offer that. Don't opt out of those. Be sure and use those security questions. For example, they might say, what's the name of the town that you met your spouse? Or what's the name of your first pet? Or what's your high school's mascot? Something like that. Use these security questions that only you know the answers to. And don't make anything up when trying to fill these out because you're going to get confused and you're going to lock yourself out. But security questions are very helpful, as is authentication software. If that's a possibility, I would sure recommend you guys use that as well. And finally, and this doesn't have to do with your devices or anything like that, but it does have to do with your credit cards and other things that you carry in your purse and in your wallet. You want to make sure that you're protecting those as best you can from skimming. Now that uses RFID technology where they're able to come and read what's on your credit cards. You want to protect yourself from skimming. Now there are some anti-RFID sleeves that you can buy, but to be honest, you can use something as simple as wrapping your credit cards and such with tin foil. That will block the RFID and they will not be able to be skimmed. I made a video on that. I'll put it up here and share it with you. Guys, like I said, I want you to be informed so that you can be prepared. And we don't know what's going to happen yet with this aggression going on over in Ukraine. But chances are it's probably not going to end good for anybody. Protect yourself, protect your identity. You want to be smart about this. You guys have a blessed day. Hill Country Prepper.